Every great fortune in history began with an empty wallet. Every champion was once a beginner who chose pain over comfort. Every success story started with someone giving up what they had for what they could become. The currency of success isn't dollars and cents. It's sacrifice. I know this truth not from books, but from life. 35 years ago, I stood in my small apartment, staring at my last $5. That night, I had to make a choice that would shape my entire future. I could either buy dinner or put gas in my car to drive across town for an opportunity that might change my life. My stomach growled as I put those $5 worth of gas in my tank. I drove through the night, hungry but determined, to that meeting that would transform my future. Today, that decision stands as a marker in my life. That hunger wasn't just physical. It was the hunger for something more. That empty stomach filled me with determination. While others chose comfort, I chose growth. While they chose the easy path, I chose the right one. That $5 wasn't spent. It was invested in my future. That word, sacrifice, most people hear it and step back. They picture loss, pain, giving up something precious, but they're missing the real story. True sacrifice isn't about loss at all. It's a trade, trading what you want now for what you want most. It's not giving up, it's trading up. I spent decades studying success, watching people rise from nothing to achievement, and here's what I've learned. Sacrifice isn't punishment. It's opportunity wearing work clothes. When you sacrifice your morning sleep to hit the gym, you're buying health. When you sacrifice mindless entertainment for study, you're buying knowledge. When you sacrifice instant pleasures for long-term goals, you're buying your future. But let me tell you what most people get wrong about sacrifice. They think it means suffering in silence. They think it means being miserable. They think sacrifice means living a life of constant denial. None of that is true. Real sacrifice is strategic. It's purposeful. It's choosing between good and better, between better and best. I remember talking to young businessmen in Chicago. He told me, I'm sacrificing everything for success, working every hour, missing every family event. I asked him one question. Are you sacrificing the right things? 6 months later, he had reorganized his life. He still made sacrifices, but now they were smart ones. He sacrificed television time instead of family time. He sacrificed sleeping in instead of sleeping enough. He sacrificed impulse purchases instead of important investments. Why do most people avoid sacrifice? I'll tell you why, and it might sting a little. They avoid it because they've been sold a lie. The lie that success should be easy. They see the highlight reels on social media. They see the end results, but never the process. They want the crown without the cross, the victory without the battle, the achievement without the work. Is another reason. Instant gratification. We live in a world of one-click purchases and instant downloads. People have lost the art of waiting, of working, of wanting. They've lost the understanding that some things can't be bought with money. They can only be bought with sacrifice. But there's a deeper reason why people avoid sacrifice. It's not just about comfort or instant rewards. It's about identity. Making a real sacrifice means admitting that your current self isn't enough, that you need to become someone different, someone better. That's scary. It means leaving the known for the unknown, the comfortable for the challenging. I've watched thousands of people face this choice. Some step back, some step forward. The ones who step forward understand something crucial. Sacrifice isn't just about what you're giving up. It's about who you're becoming. Every sacrifice shapes your character. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you're building strength. Every time you put off immediate pleasure for future gain, you're building discipline. Think of sacrifice like mining for gold. You have to dig through dirt to find treasure. You have to go through the ordinary to reach the extraordinary. The dirt isn't your enemy, it's the path to your goal. The same is true of sacrifice. The discomfort isn't your enemy, it's the path to your success. This understanding changes everything. When you see sacrifice as investment rather than loss, as opportunity rather than deprivation, as growth rather than grief, that's when everything shifts. That's when sacrifice becomes not something you have to do, but something you get. I have seen this transformation countless times. People stop asking, what do I have to give up? And start asking, what do I get to give up to become who I want to be? This shift in perspective makes all the difference. It turns sacrifice from a burden into a bridge between who you are and who you could become. Look at any great achievement in history. Behind every success story, you'll find a story of sacrifice. Behind every breakthrough, you'll find someone who gave up something good for something better. These weren't acts of deprivation. They were acts of dedication. They weren't punishments. They were investments. Let me tell you about Thomas. Before he built his $1 million company, he spent 3 years sleeping on a hard office floor. While others went home to comfort, he stayed back, working through the night. He missed birthdays, holidays, and weddings. People call him crazy. Today, he employs hundreds, supporting families across the country. Was the price high? Yes. Was it worth it? Ask the families whose lives he changed. Success has a price tag. It's not marked in dollars, it's marked in sacrifices. I've interviewed countless successful people over the decades, and they all paid different prices, but they all paid. Some paid in time, others in comfort, many in both. But here's what's fascinating. Not one of them regrets the price they paid. Consider Sarah, a single mother who built a thriving business. Her sacrifice, sleep, 2 years. She woke up at 3 a.m., worked on her business until her kids woke up, got them ready for school, worked her day job, spent evenings with her children, then worked more after they went to bed. She sacrificed sleep, but never her children's time. That was her line in the sand. Today, her business provides not just for her family, but for dozens of others. The different types of sacrifices success demands. First, there's time, the most precious resource we have. You can't buy more of it. You can't save it. You can only spend it wisely or waste it. Successful people sacrifice easy time for productive time. They sacrifice killing time for investing time. While others watch TV, they study. While others sleep in, they work out. While others complain about not having enough time, they make time. Then there's comfort, that warm, cozy feeling of staying within your safe zone. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose comfort over progress, you're choosing to stay the same. I remember a young athlete I mentored. He had talent, but talent wasn't enough. He had to sacrifice his comfortable training routine for one that made him sick to his stomach every day. Today, he's a champion. The comfort he sacrificed brought him excellence. Relationships. This is a tricky one. Some people sacrifice all their relationships for success, and that's a mistake. But successful people do sacrifice certain relationships. The ones that hold them back, the ones that drain their energy, the ones that tell them they can instead of they can. They sacrifice quantity of relationships for quality. They sacrifice toxic connections for productive ones. Immediate pleasures. This is perhaps the most common sacrifice success demands. It's saying no to the party because you have to work early. It's skipping the fancy dinner to invest in your business. It's driving an old car while you build your dream. Small sacrifices day after day, that add up to big success. Here's what most people don't understand about these sacrifices. That they're not permanent. You're not giving these things up forever. You're giving them up now for something better later. It's like planting a garden. You sacrifice your seeds now to harvest crops later. You sacrifice your time now to enjoy the fruits later. I met a musician in Nashville who practiced 8 hours a day. For 10 years while working as a janitor at night. He sacrificed parties, dates, vacations, all for his music. People thought he was wasting his life. Today, he plays in sold-out concerts. Was it worth it? The standing ovations answer that question. But let me tell you something crucial about sacrifice. It must be strategic. I've seen people sacrifice their health for wealth, only to spend their wealth trying to recover their health. I've seen people sacrifice every relationship for success, only to find success hollow without someone to share it with. Smart sacrifice is about knowing what to give up and what to protect. Think of it like pruning a tree. A good gardener doesn't just cut randomly. They cut strategically. They remove what needs to be removed so the tree can grow stronger. Your sacrifices should be like that, strategic, purposeful, designed to help you grow stronger. The price of success isn't just about what you give up. It's about what you refuse to give up. The most successful people I know all have non-negotiables, the things they won't sacrifice no matter what. For some, it's family dinner time. For others, it's their morning workout. For others still, it's their spiritual practices. These aren't distractions from their success. They're foundations for it. When you're paying the price of success through sacrifice, you're not losing something. You're buying something. Every comfort you sacrifice buys you strength. Every easy path you avoid buys you character. Every temporary pleasure you postpone buys you permanent pride. Nobody talks about the gifts that sacrifice gives you. Sure, they see the success, the achievements, the results. But something magical happens in those moments of sacrifice, something far more valuable than any outer success. You build something that money can't buy. I watched this happen with Michael, a young entrepreneur who started with nothing but determination. Every morning, he faced a choice: buy breakfast or save that money for his business. For months, he drank only water while others enjoyed their coffee. He didn't know it then, but each time he chose his dream over his comfort, he was building self-discipline. Each small sacrifice was a brick in the foundation of his character. Sacrifice shapes you from the inside out. When you choose to work while others rest, you build determination. When you choose to save while others spend, you build self-control. When you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, you build integrity. These aren't just noble words. They're practical tools that will serve you in every area of your life. Let me tell you about mental toughness. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build sacrifice by sacrifice. Think of it like building muscle. Every time you lift a weight, you create tiny tears in the muscle. It's in healing those tears that the muscle grows stronger. The same happens with sacrifice. Every time you push through discomfort, every time you choose discipline over convenience, you're building mental toughness. I remember talking to a former Navy SEAL. He told me something profound. The physical challenges weren't the hardest part. It was the mental battle, choosing to continue when every fiber of your being screams to stop. That's what sacrifice teaches you: to push past your perceived limits, to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Sacrifice teaches you lessons that no book can teach, that no seminar can give you, that no amount of money can buy. It teaches you about your own strength. Most people never discover how strong they are because they never push themselves to the point where strength is required. But when you sacrifice, when you push past comfortable, you discover reserves of strength you never knew you had. Here's another hidden benefit of sacrifice. It teaches you values. When you have to choose what to give up, you quickly learn what truly matters to you. It's easy to say what's important to you when everything's easy. But sacrifice forces you to prove it. If you say family is important but sacrifice all family time for work, you learn something about your real values. These moments of truth are priceless. Sacrifice also teaches you patience. In our world of instant everything, patience is becoming a lost art. But real success, lasting success, requires patience. When you sacrifice immediate pleasures for long-term gains, you learn to see beyond the moment, to think in terms of years instead of days. One of the most valuable lessons sacrifice teaches is discernment. You learn to distinguish between what you want and what you need, between what's good and what's best. This skill alone can save you years of wasted time and effort. It's like developing a success compass that always points true north. But perhaps the most profound benefit of sacrifice is self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of all lasting success. When you respect yourself, you make better choices. When you respect yourself, you demand respect from others. When you respect yourself, you don't settle for less than your best. Here's something else sacrifice teaches you: resourcefulness. When you can't throw money at a problem, when you can't take the easy way out, you're forced to get creative. You learn to do more with less. You learn to find ways where others see walls. This resourcefulness becomes part of who you are, serving you long after the specific sacrifice is over. If like this, every sacrifice is like a key that unlocks a new level of your potential. The sacrifice itself might be temporary, but the strength it builds, the character it forges, the lessons it teaches, these are permanent. They become part of your success DNA. I've seen people completely transform through sacrifice. They start out focused on what they're giving up, but end up amazed by what they're gaining: confidence, resilience, wisdom, strength. These aren't just nice-sounding words. They're practical tools that will serve you in every area of your life, in every challenge you face, in every goal you pursue. Not all sacrifices are created equal. I learned this lesson watching a young executive burn himself out. He sacrificed everything: his health, his relationships, his peace of mind. He thought more sacrifice meant more success. But he was wrong. Smart sacrifice is like smart investing. It's not about how much you give up. It's about what return you get. Let me share with you 3 questions I've developed over decades of studying success. Before making any sacrifice, ask yourself, first, will this sacrifice take me closer to my main goal? Second, is this the smallest sacrifice that will get the job done? And third, am I sacrificing something temporary for something permanent? Take James, a brilliant programmer I mentored. He was ready to quit his job to start his company. Sounds brave, right? But when we analyzed it, he didn't need to make that sacrifice yet. Instead, he sacrificed 2 hours of evening television to work on his business. Within 6 months, his side project was making enough money for a smooth transition. That's smart sacrifice. Here's how to identify worthy sacrifices. Start with the end in mind. What exactly are you trying to achieve? Be specific. If your goal is financial independence, sacrificing family time might be unnecessary. If your goal is stronger relationships, sacrificing overtime pay might be exactly right. Your sacrifices should align with your destination. I remember a conversation with a successful CEO. She told me, I don't sacrifice sleep anymore. I learned that sacrificing sleep actually sacrificed my decision-making ability. That's wisdom. She identified that some sacrifices create bigger problems than they solve. Instead, she sacrifices her evening social media time to get to bed early. Same goal, smarter sacrifice. Avoiding unnecessary sacrifices. I see this all the time. People sacrificing just for the sake of fighting, wearing their exhaustion like a badge of honor. That's not nobility, that's poor strategy. Every sacrifice should have a specific purpose, a clear return on investment. Think of it like planning a road trip. You wouldn't just drive in any direction hoping to reach your destination. You plan the most efficient route. The same goes for sacrifice. Plan your sacrifices. Make them intentional. Make them strategic. Here's a practical way to do this. Take out a piece of paper. Draw 2 columns. In one column, list your goals. In the other, list what you're currently sacrificing. Do they match up? Are your sacrifices taking you toward your goals? Are there easier sacrifices that would work just as well? This simple exercise can save you years of misguided effort. Strategic planning for maximum impact means timing your sacrifices right. There are seasons for different types of sacrifices. Early in your career, you might sacrifice comfort for learning. Later, you might sacrifice higher pay for more family time. The key is matching the sacrifice to your current season. I knew a woman who worked 3 jobs while putting herself through medical school, but she was smart about it. During exam weeks, she sacrificed the extra income to focus on studying. During breaks, she worked extra to make up for it. She understood that different moments require different sacrifices. Here's another crucial point about smart sacrifices. They should be sustainable. If you can't maintain a sacrifice long enough to see results, it's not a smart sacrifice. It's like trying to hold your breath underwater. You can do it for a while, but eventually you have to come up for air. Design your sacrifices so you can sustain them until they pay off. Compound interest. Small, consistent investments yield bigger returns than large, sporadic ones. The same principle applies to sacrifice. Small, consistent sacrifices often yield better results than grand, unsustainable ones. Sacrificing 1 hour of sleep every day is usually smarter than pulling all-nighters once a month. The goal of sacrifice isn't to make your life harder, it's to make your future better. If a sacrifice isn't serving that purpose, it's not worth making. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that more pain equals more gain. Sometimes the smartest sacrifice is deciding not to sacrifice at all. Success isn't built on occasional grand gestures, it's built in quiet moments, when nobody's watching, through daily choices that may seem small but create massive impact over time. I call these moments your daily practice of sacrifice. Let me share something powerful I learned from a champion athlete. Every morning he faced the same choice: stay in his warm bed or hit the cold pool at 5 a.m. He told me, I don't make that decision in the morning. I made it once years ago, and now I just honor that decision daily. That's the secret. Turning sacrifice from a daily battle into a daily practice. It's brushing your teeth. You don't debate whether to do it each morning. You don't negotiate with yourself about it. You just do it. That's what your sacrifices need to become. Automatic, non-negotiable, part of who you are. Not something you do, but something you are. Start small. Don't try to revolutionize your life overnight. Choose one small sacrifice that moves you toward your goals. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's skipping that morning pastry and saving the money. Maybe it's turning off your phone while you work. One small sacrifice, practiced daily, builds more success than 100 grand gestures. I remember working with a writer who struggled to find time for his craft. We didn't try to find huge blocks of time. Instead, he sacrificed 15 minutes of his lunch break. 15 minutes. Seems small, right? But 15 minutes a day becomes 90 hours a year. His first book was written in those 15-minute sacrifices. Here's how to build these sacrifice habits. First, make them specific. Don't say, I'll sacrifice some TV time. Say, I'll sacrifice the first hour after dinner. Specific sacrifices become specific actions. Second, link them to existing habits. If you already have a morning coffee, that's when you sacrifice social media scrolling for reading. Third, track them. What gets measured gets managed. The power of daily sacrifice lies in momentum. Every small sacrifice builds momentum for the next one. When you sacrifice that extra snooze button, you gain momentum for sacrificing that unhealthy lunch choice. When you sacrifice that mindless social media scroll, you gain momentum for sacrificing that unproductive evening habit. Let me tell you about Robert, a small business owner. He started by sacrificing $10 a day. Just $10 he'd usually spend on unnecessary things. He invested that money back into his business. Within a year, that small daily sacrifice had funded a crucial piece of equipment that doubled his production capacity. Small sacrifices, enormous results. Your daily practice needs triggers, specific moments or situations that remind you of your commitment to sacrifice. Maybe it's when you check your bank account, or when you look in the mirror, or when you start your car. These triggers become your moments of choice, your opportunities to practice sacrifice. Build reward systems into your daily practice. Not external rewards. Those defeat the purpose. I'm talking about internal rewards. Take a moment to feel proud of your sacrifice. Acknowledge your strength. Celebrate your commitment. These mental rewards strengthen your sacrifice habit. Here's something crucial about daily practice. It's not about perfection. You'll miss days. You'll slip up. That's not failure. That's being human. The key is to never miss twice. One missed day is a slip. 2 missed days is the start of a new habit, the wrong habit. Think of your daily sacrifices like compound interest. For your character, each small sacrifice grows your strength, builds your discipline, enhances your focus. It's not just about what you're giving up. It's about who you're becoming through these daily choices. Create sacrifice anchors in your day. Specific times when you consciously choose growth over comfort, progress over pleasure, achievement over ease, morning, noon, and night. 3 times a day, make one conscious sacrifice that moves you toward your goals. The beautiful thing about daily practice is that it simplifies your life. Instead of constantly debating choices, you've already decided. Instead of relying on motivation, you rely on habit. Instead of depending on willpower, you depend on practice. Let me tell you something nobody talks about. The hardest part of sacrifice isn't the sacrifice itself. It's the voices. The voice in your head that whispers, is this worth it? The voices of others asking, why are you working so hard? The voice of fear saying, what if this doesn't work? I remember sitting with a young doctor during her residency, tears in her eyes, exhausted, questioning every choice. Her friends were starting families while she was pulling 30-hour shifts. That's when I shared a truth with her. Doubt isn't your enemy. It's your test. It's life asking you, how badly do you want this? Here's how you deal with doubt. Don't try to silence it. Use it. When doubt says, this is too hard, answer back. That's why it's worth doing. When fear says you might fail, respond with, I might succeed. Turn your doubt into fuel. Let it drive you harder, push you further, make you stronger. Critics, they'll always be there. People who don't understand sacrifice will never understand success. Remember this. Criticism often comes from those who've given up on their own dreams. They're not criticizing your sacrifices. They're justifying their own lack of them. I watched countless people face this challenge. The ones who succeed don't have less fear. They have more purpose. They don't have fewer critics. They have stronger conviction. They've learned that other people's opinions cost them nothing unless they buy into it. When things get tough, and they will get tough, remember why you started. Keep evidence of your progress where you can see it. Write down your purpose and put it where you'll see it during hard times. Create reminders of why your sacrifice matters. The toughest moments are your biggest opportunities, and anyone can sacrifice when it's easy. The real growth happens when it's hard. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you're ready to quit. That's when staying committed matters most. Here's a technique I've taught to thousands. The 5-minute rule: when resistance hits hard, commit to just 5 more minutes. Often, that's enough to push through the wall. If not, commit to 5 more. Never quit at a moment of weakness. That's a decision for your stronger self to make. Resistance is a sign you're moving in the right direction. If you're facing strong resistance, you're probably making meaningful changes. Take it as confirmation that your sacrifices matter. Today, right now, in this moment, you stand at a crossroads. One path looks easier: no sacrifice, no pain, no challenge. The other looks harder, full of sacrifices, full of challenges, but leading to everything you've dreamed of achieving. The choice is yours, but remember, that choice will echo through the rest of your life. 5 years from now, will you look back at this moment and be proud of choosing comfort? Or will you look back knowing you had the courage to sacrifice for something greater? Will you tell stories of how you played it safe? Or will you share tales of how you dared to give up good for great? Here's my challenge to you. You start today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when things get easier. Choose one thing. Just one thing you're willing to sacrifice for your success. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it matter. Write it down. Share it with someone who will hold you accountable. Remember this: the success leaves clues. Every successful person you admire made sacrifices to get where they are. They weren't smarter than you. They didn't have more time than you. They didn't have better opportunities than you. They simply made different choices. Choices that required sacrifice. Your sacrifices are your seeds of greatness. Plant them today. Water them with consistency. Protect them from the winds of doubt and criticism. And watch as they grow into the life you've always dreamed of living. The price of success is sacrifice. The question isn't whether you'll pay the price. The question is whether you'll pay it now on your terms or pay it later with interest. The choice is yours. The time is now. Make your sacrifices count.